Place your styrofoam ball in the middle of your urn. Then trim your flowers so that the blossoms will just be over the edge of the urn. Now cut all of your flowers stems to that length. Once they're all cut, place the styrofoam ball on a flat surface or in your urn and start making your way around the ball, inserting the flowers on just the top half. As you will see, there seems to be some areas of the styrofoam ball that are harder than others. When you hit these areas, twist the stem around and eventually it will give away and you will be able to press it in. Repeat this whole process for however many flower orbs you wish to make. I made 2 and then I set them out in my greenhouse where I like to relax and plan my garden. Aren't they stunning? This is one of my favorite projects because of how beautiful the end result is. I hope you'll give this project a try and that you will have some beautiful flower orbs to enjoy in your own home.
First, I headed to the Dollar Tree and picked up 2 of these colanders and some zip ties. When I got home, I got to work and spray painted both colanders with some spray paint I had on hand. This is optional, but it ensured that no red would show through between the flowers and greenery. Next, I used an awl and poked 3 holes in each of the colanders that were equal distance from each other and located towards the edge of the colander. Starting first on the top colander, I fed a long piece of cotton twine through a hole on the right side and fed it through a hole on the other side. Then I rotated the colander 90 degrees and fed another piece of twine through a hole a few inches from the top. I then placed the other colander on top, then fed the zip ties through those holes, starting on the inside and finishing on the outside. Next, I gathered all my flowers and greenery and started removing them from their bundles and cutting the stems to a shorter length so they would fit better in the ball. Then I started sticking the stems through the holes and played around with different placement, trimming the flowers as needed, and making the holes bigger with my awl as I went, until I was happy with the overall look. Next, I secured everything with hot glue. I found it helpful to add hot glue to the stems themselves before sticking them into the holes of the colander. Once I was happy with the final product and everything was glued down well, I hung up my creation on my patio. I love how it turned out and I'm so excited I can have beautiful flowers hanging outside all year long. I hope this inspired you to make your own faux flower hanging ball.
Time to break out of jail. That is, the Walmart ball jail. You also need some green reindeer moss. Start by spray painting the Walmart ball with moss green spray paint. The exact shade really doesn't matter. In fact, I used 2 different spray paints I already had in 2 different shades of green. Find a large bowl and fill it with all of your green moss. Separate the large pieces and stretch out any chunks that are thick. I recommend wearing a glove on one hand as this can get a little messy. With a can of General Spray adhesive, spritz a small portion of the ball with the adhesive. Take a small patch of green moss and press it onto the ball in the sticky area. Press and hold for a few seconds to make sure it sticks. Continue to spray the ball and attach the green moss to the outside. I found it works best if you work in small areas to spray and then spread the moss into thin layers. When I tried to add thick moss, it fell off after a bit because of its weight. Once you cover the entire ball with spray adhesive and moss, give the entire moss-covered ball an overall coat of the spray adhesive. It's just like using hairspray on a head of hair. Style it in a woven basket for a textured boho look. Or place in a low, colored glass bowl for a more modern look. And for a traditional look, a large ceramic pot is perfect for this moss-covered ball.
I grabbed 2 hanging baskets and liners from Dollar Tree for this epic garden project. I unclipped the chains off of one of the baskets and placed the liners in each basket. Next, I used sharp scissors to cut a slit in the middle of each section and in the center hole at the bottom. Then I grabbed some petunias from my local garden center and carefully placed them into each hole. I pushed some of the longer ones in towards the center of the basket. I did try putting the flowers in the inside and pulling them through the holes, but it was too rough on the plants and I don't recommend doing that. Planting from the outside worked best for me. Once the basket was full with flowers, I set it aside and repeated the same steps for the second basket. In total, I used 20 petunias. Next, I filled the center of each basket with potting soil and watered it. Using my hand to hold the soil in, I gently placed one basket on top of the other and secured them together using 4 black zip ties. At that point, I decided to add in a few more flowers on the edge where the baskets meet just to fill it in a bit more. Can you believe this is what mine looked like after 3 weeks? Isn't this the most epic living flower ball you've ever seen? I hope this inspired you to create your own one-of-a-kind living flower ball.
I have a moss ball here, and this one is hollow, but it is full of moss. The first thing I'm going to do, since all of these stems can be pulled all the way to the surface, is I'm just going to lift them all the way, as I don't want this ball to become gigantic. And then what we can do is snip each stem, leaving only about ½ an inch or so. We don't need much stem. Along with the hot glue and inserting it into the moss ball, it'll keep in place just fine. So go throughout your bushes and pull all of those stems to the surface. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue, add it to the back of each stem, and poke it right into the moss ball. I'm going to space them a good distance out, and just continue working them all the way around. Now I have some preserved yarrow, and this is actually real, you guys, and I think it's the coolest texture. So keeping with the mossy natural theme, we're going to start working in some of these. Now I'm going to take these, I'm going to place them between all of that grass and flowers that we just worked in. And like I mentioned before, not going for perfection. And adding a little bit of hot glue keeps everything in place, but we don't need to go overboard with the hot glue. A little bit attaching to the moss. The moss is actually a great way of holding your products in place, so just a little bit will do. So notice that we have different heights. So as I mentioned before, we're not going for perfection here, and I think it actually creates a really organic approach. Up next, we're going to use one of my favorite greeneries. This is known as Sweet Annie, and the reason I love it so much is that all of the leaves kind of go every which way. So it's going to create a really organic look to this design and take away from some of that eucalyptus that's kind of shooting straight out. Now that I have it broken up, I'm just going to take those individual pieces and place them inside. So like I mentioned with the eucalyptus, see how it's kind of really rigid? This is just going to make it a little bit more relaxed and a little less uniform. To hang this from your ceiling or to hang it from a tree outside, I think would be very pretty, is just to take a little length of that leftover bush with the flowers and greenery, and all we're going to do is just bend this into a U shape, twist it together, cut off the excess, and after dipping it in some hot glue, we're going to just poke it right into the moss ball. And now we're going to hang this from our ceiling and show you how it turned out. And here is how it looks, you guys. I absolutely love it. I love that it's different. It's different than your typical hanging decoration, and it's very organic, and I think would work for year-round. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nick Kretikos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Home Talk. See you in the next episode.